So today I thought let's compare the first Android phone, that was the HTC Dream or the T-Mobile G1 in some regions, with the latest Android device by Google, that's the Pixel 8 Pro, to see how far we have come and also judge them by giving them scores out of 10 for each of these categories. So let's start with the unboxing, where the HTC Dream you used to get pretty much everything in the box, and the sizes of these box speaks for itself. You used to get the phone, of course, then a charger, a USB cable, a set of earphones, some extra tips, and a proper printed user manual, and even a CD for understanding your new device. The battery sometimes came with the phone and sometimes in the box separately, as the back of the phone was detachable. Man, this brings back so many memories. 10 out of 10 for this. On the latest Pixel 8 Pro, you get the phone, some basic manuals, and a USB Type-C cable, a SIM ejector pin, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Even Mother Nature would be really pissed at this. Like, this ain't even a growth. 5 out of 10. Now let's check out the build and design. Now the first Android device was made entirely out of plastic, obviously, that weighed around 158 grams and had a single speaker at the back with a removable battery and looked like just any other phones back then, with a slight change but with a very distinctive feature, a slidable physical keyboard, because at that time Google was trying to compete against BlackBerry and the iPhone all at the same time, so they just focused both of the distinctive features, the QWERTY keypad from the BlackBerry and the touchscreen from the iPhone. What a combination. But obviously that just made the phone more vulnerable to physical or even internal damages, and also I don't think so it had any display protection or an IP rating, as it wasn't really a thing for mobiles back then, but wasn't really a bad one for the time though, so a 6 out of 10 for that. The latest Pixel 8 Pro from Google has obviously drastically changed their build and design, which now has a glass and aluminum design protected by Gorilla Glass Victus 2 and an IP68 water and dust protection that weighs around 213 grams now, and a set of stereo speakers. Also, Google now has a distinctive look rather than some generic phone design, which is the visor cutout, and also it is now a premium category phone as compared to when it started with the intention of making affordable smartphones. 9 out of 10 for this one. Now let's talk about one of the most important features of any smartphone, the display. And here is when you start seeing the actual evolution of a smartphone. For starters, the HTC Dream had a 3.2-inch 480p maybe 60Hz TFT display that could produce about 65,000 colors back then only. And as I said, no display protection also, and can't say anything about the brightness numbers, but obviously decent enough for that time I guess. We'll still give this a 7 out of 10, keeping in mind when it came. Whereas the Pixel 8 Pro has a big 6.7-inch about 1.5K resolution 120Hz AMOLED display, which Google calls a super actual display that could produce about 16 million colors now, and it's a 24-bit panel and has a peak brightness of about 2400 nits, and even though normally it's around 12 to 1600 nits depending on the content you are watching. It is also protected by the Gorilla Glass Victus 2. 9 out of 10 easily. Here's where things start getting more interesting. The HTC Dream came with a 520 MHz single-core Qualcomm MSM 721A processor with Adreno 130 GPU based on ARM11 architecture, which was a 65nm fabricated processor. Yes, a 65nm processor. And nowadays people complain when the processor used in a phone is anything more than 4 nanometers. The Pixel 8 Pro comes with a miles ahead powerful 3 GHz 9-core Tensor G3 chipset with Immortalis G715S GPU based on the ARM Cortex X3 architecture for the performance core, which is a 4nm fabricated processor. Sadly, no scoring system was made for the Qualcomm MSM 721A to compare how powerful Google devices has become, but obviously in raw performance wise the Tensor G3 is miles ahead, but for the time and price I don't think people were too disappointed with what their phones could do back then as compared to today's controversial and overpriced Pixel series and its sensor chipset. So a 5 out of 10 for the HTC Dream and an 8 out of 10 for the Pixel 8 Pro. Now let's talk about the most interesting part, the cameras, as not only Google devices but smartphones in general has improved drastically of what a smartphone camera could do now, and a lot of the times we complain for the slightest things and take these for granted. The HTC Dream had only a 3.15 megapixel autofocus camera, as neither the hardware or the software supported even a front camera, with obviously no flash support yet, but anyways it also supported video recording of up to 360p or MPEG-4. On the other hand, the Pixel 8 Pro has one of the best flagship smartphone camera in today's market, with a set of 3 cameras in the rear and 1 in the front. The rear has a main 50 megapixel sensor with OIS and a laser autofocus, a 48 megapixel ultra wide angle camera, another 48 megapixel 5x telephoto camera, and a 10.5 megapixel front camera, and all of them can record up to 4K 60 fps easily with OIS and EI stabilization, and obviously a flash support for the all rear cameras. Now I could go on and on about the Pixel 8 Pro's camera, as there's so much to talk about, but I think for this comparison the hardware speaks for itself of how far we have come in these 15 or 16 years. And yes, the Pixel 8 Pro is again way superior to the HTC Dream, but this is where it all started, and back then it wasn't a bad camera phone at all. So 7 out of 10 for the HTC Dream and a 9 out of 10 for the Pixel 8 Pro in this round. The HTC Dream came with the first Android version, that was the Android 1.0, and got about 3 major updates after that till about Android 1.6 Donut. The phone supported 3G data speeds, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth and GPS support, with a mini USB at the bottom for charging and data transfers, and surprisingly no headphone jack on the first Android phone itself. Also, even though the phone supported MP3 audio playback but no video playback other than the videos you have recorded was supported, so 6 out of 10 for that. The The Pixel 8 Pro came with the latest Android 14 and will get not 3, not 4 but up to 7 years of software updates, which at the time is never been done before even by Apple also. And yes, this is a fully compatible 5G device with Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS, NFC, etc. support, and a Type-C USB port at the bottom for charging and data transfers with a mic and a speaker, and obviously no headphone jack. You could also play 4K HDR10 plus contents on this phone. 9 out of 10 as still in some regions it does have some connectivity issues, including the heating one. The HTC Dream came with 192 MB of RAM and came only with 256 MB of storage, which was expandable via an SD card but was too less even back then, as the first iPhone came with at least 4 GB of internal storage, even though with only 128 MB of RAM. 6 out of 10 for that. The Pixel 8 Pro comes with 12 GB of RAM for all of its variants and a minimum of 128 GB of UFS 3.1 storage, which is no more expandable via an SD card. Easy 8 out of 10. The HTC Dream came with a removable 1150 mAh battery, which probably had a 5-watt adapter provided in the box. That would typically last about 4 to 5 hours depending upon your usage, and supposedly it took more than 2 hours to completely charge this. 7 out of 10 for this one. The Pixel 8 Pro comes with a 5050 mAh non-removable battery that can be charged at 30 watts wired, 23 watts wireless, and reverse charging supported also. But sadly no charger provided in the box, and also 30-watt wired charging is slow in today's era. That would easily take around 1 hour 20 minutes to 1 hour 30 minutes to fully charge. I wanna give this 7 out of 10 for these two, mainly because of no charger and slow charging. Now the main part, the pricing. The HTC Dream started at the price of $179 with a 2-year contract with T-Mobile and came in India few months later in 2009, which costed around 30,000 rupees back then in collaboration with Bharti Airtel, and did get quite popular in India. But 30,000 for that point of time was pretty big price if it's true. 7 out of 10 for this final round. The Pixel 8 Pro was launched at $999 for the base variant, and in India it is around 1,03,999 as of now, and this is also a pretty big price for the phone. 7 out of 10 again. So here you can see the final scores, and obviously the Pixel 8 Pro wins. But the thing is, if this wasn't made about 15 years ago as of making this video, then we wouldn't have come to this, and we should always be thankful for the first team with Andy Rubin, who was one of the original creators of Android history video right here, by the way. And before you hop on to that video, isn't it wonderful of how far mobile technology has come, and also we as consumers too? So which was your first Android device? Let me know, and meet you guys on this video again. This is Reedib, and see you guys.